What if I told you there was a jet so fast that it could outrun missiles, fly higher than any fighter of its time, and forced the United States to completely redesign its air superiority strategy? Meet the Mikoyan-Gurevich MiG-25, better known as the Foxbat. A Soviet monster of the skies that wasn't just a fighter, it was a legend that kept NATO awake at night. To understand why the MiG-25 was built, we need to go back to the 1960s. The Cold War was at its peak. The United States had just developed high-altitude reconnaissance aircraft like the Lockheed U-2 and later the State Route 71 Blackbird, which could fly faster and higher than any Soviet interceptor could reach. The Soviet Union needed an answer, a jet that could catch these intruders, challenge American bombers, and protect its massive territory. And so, the Mikoyan Design Bureau gave birth to one of the fastest and most unique aircraft ever built, the MiG-25 Foxbat. Take a look at its design. The MiG-25 looks like it's built for pure speed because it was. It had massive twin air intakes to feed its gigantic engines. A boxy, angular fuselage, not for stealth, but to withstand extreme heat at Mach 3 speeds. Large, swept-back wings, giving it stability at high altitudes. But here's the surprising part: the MiG-25 wasn't made of titanium like the State Route 71. Instead, it was built mostly from nickel-steel alloy. Why? Because titanium was expensive and hard to work with. Steel made the Foxbat heavier, but it could handle the extreme temperatures generated at supersonic speeds. It was brute force engineering, Soviet style. Now, let's talk power. The MiG-25 was equipped with two massive Timansky R-15 turbojet engines, each capable of producing over 22,000 pounds of thrust with afterburner. This beast could reach speeds of Mach 2.8 regularly, and even push to Mach 3.2 in emergencies. But there was a catch: at those extreme speeds, the engines risked permanent damage. Still, imagine this: you're flying a jet in the 1970s, and you can leave almost every missile and fighter in the world struggling to catch up. That's the Foxbat. And it wasn't just about speed. The MiG-25 could soar up to 90,000 feet, that's higher than commercial airliners, higher than most interceptors, and dangerously close to the edge of space. In fact, during test flights, MiG-25s climbed so high that pilots experienced near weightlessness. For years, NATO pilots joked that Foxbat pilots needed spacesuits more than flight suits. At those altitudes, the MiG-25 could track American reconnaissance planes, and if necessary, fire its R-40 missiles, massive, long-range air-to-air weapons built specifically to hit high-flying targets. But here's the twist: despite its terrifying speed, the MiG-25 wasn't a perfect fighter. It was designed as an interceptor, not a dogfighter. Its heavy steel body and massive engines made it less agile compared to jets like the F-15 or Mirage fighters. Its radar was powerful but lacked finesse, and at close range, the Foxbat was at a disadvantage. Think of it like this: the MiG-25 was a sprinter, not a gymnast. It was unbeatable at chasing high-altitude intruders, but it wasn't built for turning battles. When NATO first learned about the MiG-25, panic spread across Western air forces. Intelligence reports exaggerated its capabilities, painting it as a Soviet superfighter. This shock directly influenced the design of the McDonnell Douglas F-15 Eagle, one of the most successful Western fighters ever. So in a way, the MiG-25 indirectly shaped the future of American air superiority. The MiG-25 wasn't just a paper tiger, it saw real action. Middle East, Syrian and Egyptian MiG-25s flew reconnaissance missions over Israel in the 1970s, often outrunning Israeli fighters. Iraq-Iran War, Iraqi MiG-25s proved difficult for Iranian F-14 Tomcats to intercept. Soviet Union, they regularly shadowed NATO bombers and reconnaissance planes. And here's a jaw-dropping fact: in 1976, Soviet pilot Viktor Belenko defected to Japan in his MiG-25, giving the West its first real look inside this mysterious aircraft. What they found was both impressive and surprising. Yes, it was incredibly fast. Yes, its radar was powerful. But it was also rugged, heavy, and not as advanced in avionics as Western jets. Still, the Foxbat earned respect as a symbol of Soviet power. The MiG-25's legacy didn't end there. Its design led directly to the MiG-31 Foxhound, a more advanced interceptor with improved agility, avionics, and weapons. But the MiG-25 itself remained in service for decades. In fact, some countries still operate them today, proving how ahead of its time this jet really was. So why should we still talk about the MiG-25? Because it represents an era when speed and altitude were the ultimate weapons. It was a machine built to push the limits of physics, to counter threats that seemed unstoppable. It wasn't perfect, but it didn't have to be. It was a statement that the Soviet Union could challenge the skies and terrify its rivals. Even today, the MiG-25 remains one of the fastest military aircraft ever built, a true Cold War legend. And that's the story of the MiG-25 Foxbat, the jet that outran missiles, rewrote strategies, and left its mark on aviation history. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button, subscribe for more legendary jet stories, and let me know in the comments which aircraft should we cover next.